This is Kory Willis with PPEI, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
I'm Adam Blattenberg from Diesel World.
Hi, this is Dan, owner of Dan's Diesel Performance.
I'm Christian Roth of DD Diesel.
I'm Braden Fleece, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
What is going on, Diesel Nation? We're excited to have you guys with us today on the Diesel Podcast. We've got Kory Willis from PPEI, and he's going to join us today to go over some major tuning updates that PPEI has. If you have a 6.7 Powerstroke running PPEI tuning, you're really going to want to hear what Kory has to say. And then also some new updates. There's new tuning that's coming out for the F150 Ecoboost, some other platforms, side-by-sides. So we're excited to be able to chat with Kory today, ask him how things have been the last couple months, and what his thoughts are with race season, racing in general, and some really cool things that are going to be hitting the market here soon for tons of different platforms. Kory Willis, welcome back to the Diesel Podcast. And it's been a minute or two since we chatted, but this spring has been entirely crazy with everything that's going on. But I've been seeing a lot of updates on Facebook and Instagram from PPEI and some new tuning, updates to tuning, a bunch of cool things you guys have been cranking on this year.
Yeah, man, good to be back on. We've definitely not taken the COVID thing and on it with R&D. We put in a lot of time, me and the other calibration engineers, and really were able to get some stuff pumped out.
I think it was really recently that you guys had a major update for the 6.7 Powerstrokes, and I know it's with how you changed the tunes, but I wanted to ask you, what exactly did you guys release or update for that platform?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The 11 through 16 Powerstroke, we actually had released it a good while back, but it was a really soft release, probably 6 months or so ago. And I wanted to do a softer release for them, just in case there was some issues or they lost communication or whatever. But what we do is we switch all the tuning straight to the CAN bus. So where typically you have to, hardwire a switch in and open the hood up and all that good stuff to be able to switch tunes as you're going down the road or whatever. Now we could take and do them straight up to where you just plug this into your OBD port, and you can either turn a switch to go up, or you could easily take your EasyLink and just click the level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we also have an option on there too that's still with EasyLink that says use with hardwire switch, and if you click that, then it'll revert over to the old style method of having a hardwire switch installed.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's for someone to be able to do that and not have to pop their hood, the ultimate goal. So that's what we were able to accomplish, and it's solid, works really well, and pretty happy about it. So that's for 11 through 16 Powerstroke, and 17 through 19 is right behind it as well. So we've got that function.
We've had a lot of interest, and we've done some episodes this year talking about the 2020s, really with the engine part and even a little bit of the transmission. But how's that coming along?
They're monsters. We've been working away on the TCM calibration for it, and we had picked up over 100 foot-pounds just with calibrating the TCM. They've got a lot of limiters in them. They're kind of lazy stock, and then they dropped to like 188 psi of pressure, if I remember right off the top of my head, whenever they're under big load. And so we made a lot of adjustments to where even with lockup, we're not seeing a pressure loss. So being able to get that pressure way up is a night and day difference for keeping these things alive. So we were able to do that, and then on the engine side, more recently, around last month, we were able to take and get into the ECU and actually start playing with it, and it was actually fairly easy to calibrate. It was a pretty simple ECU. And the reason is because the manufacturers have left lots on the table with this thing. So before adding, hardly any fuel or timing or anything like that, we're seeing 570 rear wheel horsepower out of this thing. So the OEM calibration actually went up to basically 570 horse.
Wow.
We haven't released our numbers with all the fuel added and the timing and boost, but it's more than people think that their Powerstrokes to make. It's more than any of the previous months. It's very impressive.
What's really cool about that is these power numbers, and I'm sure when you guys release it, there'll be more details, but able to make this kind of power and this torque with all the emissions on the vehicle, which in the past was unheard of.
Yeah, it'd have been totally unheard of. Yeah, and the thing is like doing this with the factory, basically all within the factory limitations, this thing's very, very efficient. No additional, I mean, at 600 horsepower, there's still no additional DEF consumption. We still got good air-to-fuel ratios. And when we start pumping them much more than that, we're starting to see a little bit of soot. But I'm also seeing some other factors playing in that we'll be able to eliminate with a couple of basic bolt-ons. And I don't see any reason why these won't be, 650 to 675 horsepower emissions-present trucks with, less cost than to even delete it. It's really awesome.
It is so nice to see.
How crazy. Imagine that like 5 years ago. It's like, yeah, right. Now it's like, oh, yeah, I'll do it.
It's like if you hit 500, it's like you might as well start a fund to buy a new DPF because you're going to clog it. But with what's available now, it's
insane.
crazy.
And then the transmission's very efficient. So, I've seen a lot of numbers other guys have posted up with single-wheel trucks, and they're making around 473 to 475 with a 1-to-1 gear ratio and on the dyno, and our truck's a dually. And our stock number was 458, but it's still just absolutely mind-blowing that a stock truck, straight from the manufacturer's making that kind of power. It's crazy to see how much the vehicles have developed. It's insane.
Now on the Duramax side, what are some things you guys have been working on, say with the L5P or even I saw with it was I believe the LBZ and LMM. You guys had a release recently with some tuning options.
Yep. So we released the LBZ and LMM on EasyLink, and what it was there was quite a shortage of AutoCals and EFILIVE devices out there, and we were getting a pretty high demand for alternatives, and I wanted to put it on HP Tuners as well, but our website needs to be reconfigured to be able to get it all up there on HP Tuners. So the quickest thing was for us to just get it up on EasyLink. So I took and got all the files mapped out to load in, and we've sold quite a few of them, surprisingly enough. Our EasyLink LBZ LMM file doesn't have the DSP5 option in them like EFILIVE does, so I didn't think I didn't think we were going to sell many, but surprisingly enough, man, people love it. They're eating it up.
If you were to, with all the tuning that you've done with the newer trucks, we were just talking about efficiency and all the data and everything, and you were to look at the tunes you can do now for an LBZ or LMM versus, back in 2011 or 12, has a lot changed with how PPEI tunes those trucks and the limits you can push because of the data and the testing that you've had?
What's crazy is I'll a lot of times ride in a truck that we tuned years ago, and it's like, okay, well, let's see what improvements we can make. But those LBZ and LMM files, I mean, they've always been they've just been dialed. They run freaking good. And so I did take again, and it's like, okay, well, how do I want this thing to drive, any differently? So while we have the test trucks around, I didn't want to change anything. Everything was, really correct. Everything was really efficient, and nothing needed to be changed. So surprisingly enough, LBZ LMM, those same old files are still just rock solid. LML, we've changed up a good bit since the very beginning. There was a lot to be had on those, but the LBZ LMM, man, they pretty well rocked out. It was fairly surprising that I didn't actually feel the need that I needed to change it up quite a bit.
How's the Cummins side been? Has it been like that as well, or has it been more of, going back or, just discovering new things you can do with it or features you can add?
Yeah, I would be willing to say the 06 through 2010, we've pretty well had those pretty on dials. They've rocked out really well. I did revisit the 03 through 07 Cummins. We haven't released the 03 through 05, 59 yet, but we did all of that at the same time and revisited all. And the newer tunes they're much cleaner. more torquey, a little more throttle response. And so the 5.9 tunes, we do have a revision that'll be coming out for those. And the 6.7s, those 7 through 09, those were pretty good. They were pretty rock solid. There wasn't really anything I wanted to change on them. But one thing we are adding into it is the ability to tune the transmission. So we'll have that released in the next few weeks through hopefully EasyLink and for sure HP tuners. So everything that you see us offer on EFILIVE and EasyLink, we're hoping that we'll also have it on HP tuners very shortly. Because it seems like we're picking up a lot more gas market, and these guys have these devices in stock. So it'll save on money, and we can still supply the same calibrations over to them. We've been working with HP tuners a good bit, and those guys have been really, really awesome to deal with. So I see a lot of HP tuner stuff coming out from our end as well. The 13 through 18 Cummins, that's pretty well a never-ending monster, I would say. The ECM calibrations have been really dialed. They run like we're supposed to, but what we learn more than anything is the emission system. So it's just constantly a learning process on them. And we're actually working pretty hard on getting it to where it works better than factory. So that's been one of our biggest goals, is to make it actually function a little bit better in factory, use a little bit less death fluid, and ultimately less particulates. So we've been working on that and having some really good success with it. And I think the 13 and ups will be pretty well, they won't quit evolving. 19 through 20, we just released that for Cummins, and that's what I've been driving personally, towing my trailer, and I love that truck. Really strong, drives well. Interior's, in my opinion, by far the nicest out of all of them. And it's strong. It's a solid emissions present 500 horsepower. Runs really, really, really well. So they'll make more than that, but the files we have released on the cloud now at 500 are dialed in. They're awesome.
I know this is the Diesel podcast, but you guys have been really coming out with a ton of different things. I've seen Ecoboost stuff. I've seen side-by-side. I wanted to kind of open it up a little bit on the tuning side. And what else have you guys been working on, or what are some things that you have, to market now, or it's going to be, coming up here pretty quick?
Man, that's been we've been we've been doing the gas stuff for a long time, but it hasn't been it's been more of a fun type thing than I would say, that want to market it. I've been racing side-by-side. I've been racing power sports stuff pretty much my whole life, but professionally racing side-by-side is 5+ years. So, we've worked one-on-one with every horsepower company you can think of for side-by-side stuff, and, even factory BRP. And we know and learned a whole lot, and it's like, okay, we need to bring some of this stuff to market. We worked a whole lot as well with Evo Power Sports, and a lot of encouragement from those guys. Like, man, y'all need to do something with this. So we've teamed up with them, and we did a lot of our own calibrations. We share a lot of data back and forth, and I think between us both, we've really, really seen some good things happening. The way we're calibrating these new bikes is really very on par with how the factory calibrates them. So you're seeing a lot of advancements for the power sports stuff, where you can run it in different elevations and different conditions, and we know exactly what works and what doesn't, because we have absolutely torture tested these things in every condition you can think of. And then also working a lot with Evo, they have tons of power data acquisition as well, so we're able to take and work a lot with each other and really, really make some good things happen. And you'll be seeing a lot more from a combination of actually PPEI and Evo in the near future. It's going to be really cool. Everyone's going to win.
There's so much crossover between the diesel side and then the toys that truck owners like to use, whether it's, just going outdoors or doing what you do. I always see you all the time. You're going to races and heading places and stuff. And
I can't leave nothing alone either. So it's like I bought a Sea-Doo Spark, and I couldn't leave it alone. Here we are. We picked up just according to, we don't have a way to dyno it, but just by the basic calculation tools we use, we pick up 30 horsepower on the Sea-Doo Spark models. So it's crazy. So we're going to release all the jet ski stuff here very shortly as well for the Sparks. And it sounds ridiculous, but I've probably had over 100 requests for tuning for Honda Groms. And I love Honda Groms. So I was like, golly, why do so many people want to tune these things? And my Grom's kind of a wildcat. It's got a big cam and big bore kit on it and all kind of good stuff. Got an air-to-fuel gauge that calculates VE and everything. And so we'll be releasing Grom stuff before long as well, but I think the biggest kicker people are going to see shortly that we've got a lot of time, a lot of effort, and I think we've got one of my good friends works over at PPEI, Eric, and I think he's one of the best gas calibrators, in the country, especially reversing the OEM stuff. And he has done a very good job. The Ecoboost was pretty well his baby project, and I'm blown away with the results he had. We pretty well bought, to see where it stacked up, we pretty well bought most of the popular tuners on the market's tunes and box tunes and all that good stuff and tested them. And I think people are going to be really, really happy with what they see from PPEI with the Ecoboost stuff. So we're launching all that within the week. It's going to be very nice. It's the fastest gas truck I've pretty well driven, the one that we've done the intercooler and stuff on. It's ridiculous. Fastest stock truck, put it that way.
Well, that's what's so interesting about the Ecoboost is the upside that they have with them, and they're in the truck that is, there's more of them on the road and sold every year than any other truck. And so there's a huge base of people who, may want to do things, may want a little bit more performance. And it's just, from the outside looking in, I haven't driven one, I've never owned one. But it's always interested me what could be done to them to get more performance out of, that platform, that engine.
Yeah, it's really insane. And, the thing that I think a lot of guys that calibrate these things don't consider is there's some good tuners out there, and we've run some awesome stuff, but is boost. Everyone's setting their tunes on this boost level, this is the horsepower it makes, and whenever we make a sweep on the dyno, it does. It makes that power, but it drastically loses it. The intake air temps on these Ecoboosts just get kind of outrageous. So a lot of the box tunes that we ran on the market that are really popular, it was not a sustainable horsepower level. So we were actually able to beat a lot of those in drag races simply by actually having lower boost and making a lot of it up with timing. So, there's a lot of little tricks that went into the calibration of the Ecoboost stuff, and it's really nice. It's a very, very awesome truck to drive. We snuck one on my grandpa. He drives an Ecoboost. And so we stole the truck from him for a little bit and never told him that we tuned it. So it's like, let's see if just the average person that doesn't know will catch on. So he was at his hunting camp. We took the truck, tuned it, and he called me as soon as he got back in the truck, and he said, "What did y'all do to my truck?" And I'm wondering if it's, well, that can go one of two ways. So I was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" He said, "Y'all did something to this truck." He said, "This thing is a animal now. I feel like I can tow the world down." I said, "Well, we did. We tuned it." And he said, "I don't know why everyone with one of these trucks wouldn't want something like this." And so I figured if my mid-70s grandpa said that there'll be a lot of average folks out there that will be really excited to run those calibrations.
Are they available now, like where people can go to ppei.com and get them for their Ecoboost, or is it something that's releasing here pretty soon?
Yeah, it's releasing very soon. Everything's completely done. We had because we needed a better streamlined method to be able to send the files out, because the way it would have been done was was the traditional way of doing it with HP tuners. That is really time consuming. So we had one of the guys from HP Tuners in at the office today, and we were looking at streamlining a lot of the processes using their software. And that was one of our holdups, was just trying to get it as efficient as possible, because I don't want to have to send someone a device. They wait 2 or 3 days, and then they send us a read file, and they got to wait another day. You're looking at a 3 to 5 days on tuning your vehicle. Yeah, that's never been acceptable with us, and that wasn't going to start now. So we were able to get them in there today and get all that lined out, and we've got a streamlined process, and I would expect this week or next week you'll be seeing everything available, ready to go.
I know you're a busy guy, and you got a lot going on. But before I let you go, I have to ask you about something. We haven't really gone too in-depth with it, but it's about the race car, which I remember when you guys revealed it, I think it was late last year, and everything. And I know, the pandemic and coronavirus and everything's kind of, thrown a wrench in, racing and, when, and kind of pushed out dates and everything. But that car drummed up so much interest and so much excitement. I didn't want to not ask you about it or what your plans are for it this year, the direction you guys are going.
No, that's thanks for asking. So a couple of things I'll touch on is, during right before the pandemic happened, everyone knows that we went from straight up race tuning over to all emissions compliant stuff, and it's what's necessary to stay in business at this point in time under the current jurisdictions, so we went with it. And at the same time, we're doing a race car, and people's like, what in the world are y'all doing? But we took in, during the pandemic, we bought a new facility, really big facility on 10 acres, and we got plenty of room to expand. We've bought a bunch of CNC machines, lathes, transmission dyno. We teamed up and started a newer company as well for transmission stuff with one of my super close friends, Evan from Limitless Diesel. Everyone knew him. New company called Elevated Ingenuity, and the amount of stuff we have going on is just unreal at the office. I mean, the energy's higher than it's ever been, but you start doing all that stuff through a pandemic, and then all the craziness in the world now, and the markets are just absolutely crazy in every direction, and not really in the best way. We feel the same struggles that most people felt, but we haven't slowed up, and I think people are going to see a lot of really cool developments coming on. And part of the race car thing is to be able to learn more on data acquisition, how to squeeze every ounce of horsepower out of something that we possibly can, and then also be able to develop new racing parts. So for legitimate, full-blown nasty drag vehicles. And what we've found data acquisition-wise with the race car is really awesome. It's taught us a whole lot, and we continue to learn. We recently went ahead and threw it on the table and threw a few more parts on the car and went out to PDRA, and Wade leads that. Wade Booney works with us now, and he leads that whole program out from the office. And we showed up, and we ended up actually having a small little electrical gremlin go on, and it hurt us at the line, and dove off the front end, and we seen what went wrong. Just one of them crazy, unfortunate things. But the amount of interest that it drummed up while we were at PDRA was unbelievable. I mean, magazines and everything you could think of, just unbelievable contacts. There's tons of people out at the event just wanting to buy tuning on the spot, and us go out and tune the trucks for them while they were there. So it was, I love all the diesel events, and we're going to hit what we can, but we're trying to drum up some new interest and raise some awareness for diesel performance, and we couldn't really see a much better way for doing that than actually going out and playing with all the gas guys. We still got things to work out on the car. It can go much faster than what is being seen now. And I think it's going to be a really, really, really cool thing. So the car's got a ways to go, but the data that we're seeing from the car, I think it's going to really, really change the game of performance for diesels, hands down.
Really look forward to the tracks opening up and kind of being able to see trucks and cars and race vehicles just go fast.
Dude, I know it's sickening. You go out to events, and there's not even a lot of states haven't even opened to where you can run race events, but the ones that have, there's no one in the stands. So it's such a weird environment. You know, it's a true culture change for the racing industry. That's for sure.
I think that what you're saying about the car and being able to take it out there and compete in the gas world and just be able to showcase what it can do is going to be huge, not just for racing, but also for diesel in general. And then, you know, all the updates you guys are doing, you went through them with us, going all the way back to, you know, LBZs from 06, 07, and the support you guys are giving to tons of different platforms. So I appreciate you chatting with us today, giving us an update on, you know, tuning and some really cool things you guys are working on. And always encourage everyone that, you know, is listening, if you're not following PPEI on Facebook or Instagram, definitely do it, because you get tons of great information right away. And I'll be looking at my feed, I'm like, they got Ecoboost tuning, they got side-by-side tuning.
Yeah, that's where I posted recently. I said we're just getting started. So the amount of stuff that we actually tune that people have no clue. You know, you'll be seeing before the year's over a lot of things that people will be very surprised that we tune. So we just had a 800 horse McLaren on the dyno this past week, and it was sweet. So there's a lot of cool stuff that I think people will be surprised that we're going into. But you know, we got the engineers at the office now. We've got the staff. We've got the training. We've got the tech support, and we've got the right minds now at the office. That it's becoming an absolute powerhouse, and you know, it just gives us the fortunate ability to be able to really expand what we've done past just the diesel performance scene. So I've seen a couple of guys say, oh, they're getting into gas because the diesel stuff's washing out, but it's not. The diesel stuff's just getting started, and seeing the power these new platforms are making, and then seeing, I know I do a lot of development behind the scenes with hard parts guys and aftermarket companies. And the stuff that guys are making that are going to bolt right up onto emissions-compliant vehicles that I'm confident will be able to get EO numbers as well. It's the diesel market within the next year is going to see a shift, because you will be able to make more power than you used to make at less cost, and then you will be able to send out calibrations and make parts without wondering if you're doing it legally or not. So that's going to be a really, really, really cool shift. I think some people seen it as the dark ages, and I see it as opportunity, and a lot of your leading parts manufacturers did too. And for me, behind the scenes, seeing what everybody's working on and helping them calibrate them properly, people are going to be absolutely mind blown. So 650 horsepower, you know, with a deleted truck and this and that, the cost and everything it takes to do that, it's not going to be justifiable here very shortly. It's very cool. Really, really cool.
I'm excited. I'm definitely excited. It's always great to chat with you and hear all the things that you're working on, and then see, you know, I think every time you've told us something's going to happen or changes that were going to happen, it has, and it's gone in a positive direction, you know, overall.
I catch a lot of flack for it all, but a good saying I say all the time is the leader always catches, the leader leading through the woods always catches all the thorns first. So I catch a lot of thorns, but we're paving a way. Things are coming around, and the most impressive thing to me has been just the stepping up at our office and the engineers, and just seeing these guys surpass the knowledge that I even have. So we're all learning off each other. It's really getting awesome, and to see all the parts manufacturers starting to step up and say, hey, we see the writing on the wall. What can we do to where we're still sustainable in 5 years? And to see all of these guys, you thought they were doing cool stuff in the, you know, just elite race market, to see what they're actually doing, because it's more difficult. It takes more brain power to do this stuff with an emissions present truck. I mean, it takes the right calibrating, it takes the right parts, and it ultimately you can take a goofball and they can tune a deleted truck, and it's going to have fuel and air, and it's going to go faster. But the emissions present trucks are a lot less forgiving. So what I'm starting to see, and I kind of predict it, but it's coming to light, is that everyone is getting a lot smarter and doing things a lot more correctly. And when that happens, the whole industry wins. And what really excites me is the fact that, you know, this is going to be at a lot less cost than what it was before. So the industry's going in the right direction, and I know a lot of people can't really see it now, but it's 100% going in the right direction. It's getting exciting.
Well, I definitely appreciate your time as always, Kory, and look forward to seeing this unfold. Chat with you later in the year and seeing some more cool things you guys are bringing to market, tuning updates, and even maybe some surprises with vehicles that you're tuning.
Yeah, there'll be some fun surprises over the next few months, over the next year. So it'll be exciting. I look forward to chatting again.